Hello everyone, today is 14th of September, now it's about 1 o'clock, middle of the day by Moscow time. It's Saturday, so I hope you will have a wonderful day and a great weekend. And I love to share some good news, by the way, in this update, but unfortunately headlines are scary as hell, by the way, because developments in this world are really dangerous. And I will focus in this update mainly on this topic of escalation, next level of escalation between NATO and Russia. And take a look at the first headline, by the way, on RT. Russia warns NATO of direct war over Ukraine. So, granting Kyiv permission to use Western-supplied long-range weapons would constitute direct involvement in the Ukraine conflict by NATO. Russia's envoy to UN, Vasily Nebezhny, has stated Moscow will treat any such an attack as coming from the US and its allies directly. Russian President Vladimir Putin said on Thursday, while commenting on this topic of long-range strikes deep inside the Russian territory by Western weapons, explaining that long-range weapons rely on Western intelligence and targeting solutions, neither of which Ukraine is capable of. And this is factual, isn't it? This is true. And I was saying many times in previous updates that all these long-range strikes deep inside the Russian territory that already was conducted by drones, for example, targeting solutions were provided by NATO for those drones, right? And now talks are that Western ruling class is about to start targeting Russia with the long-range missiles, and some of them are nuclear capable. One should keep in mind that some of those missiles, by the way, are nuclear capable, and there is no way to know if those missiles have or don't nuclear warhead. And if you take in account level of insanity of the Western ruling elites, Western ruling class, you cannot rule out anything at all, right? So NATO countries would start an open war with Russia if they allow Ukraine to use long-range weapons, Nebezhny told the UN Security Council on Friday. And then, quote, if such a decision is made, that means NATO countries are starting an open war against Russia, Moscow envoy said. In that case, we will obviously be forced to make certain decisions, with all their attendant consequences for the Western aggressors. Our Western colleagues will not be able to dodge responsibility and blame Kiev for everything, Nebezhny added. Only NATO troops can program their flight solutions for those missile systems. Ukraine does not have that capability. This is not about allowing Kiev to strike Russia with long-range weapons, but about West making their targeting decisions. So it's about West targeting Russia, not Kiev regime. And I spoke about it in previous updates, and Russian president was very clear on that. And then this news continues. Russia considers it irrelevant that Ukrainian nationals would technically be the ones pulling the trigger. Nebezhny explained NATO would become directly involved in a military action against the nuclear power. I don't think I have to explain what consequences that would have, he said. And yes, by the way, as I said, some dangerous developments are taking place in this world, and everybody understands who is escalating. It's not Russia. It's a Western ruling class, this insane Western ruling class, right? And they clearly want, I guess, nuclear war to happen. They are pushing this war towards nuclear escalation because Moscow is clear in its warnings as it can, right? And we have also this report, by the way, that Sergei Rabkov, deputy of the Russia's foreign minister, stated that Moscow knows. Moscow already has information that Western ruling class, Western so-called elites, already made a decision on strikes deep inside the Russian territory with with Western weapons, which means that it's Most likely it's only a matter of time until these strikes will take place, and then I don't think Moscow will have any other option but to retaliate. I truly don't think Moscow will have any other option but to retaliate with their extreme force. And members of our community know perfectly well that I was saying about this for a very, very long time now, that at some point, due to constant escalation by the Western ruling elites, Russian leadership at some point may find itself in a situation when they will see no any other option for way out but to start using some extreme force. And unfortunately we already are in that situation, and clearly will be once these long-range strikes will take place, once NATO will start targeting Russia with these long-range missiles. And we have a comment from former president of the Russian Federation and current deputy chairman of the Security Council, who said that yes, it is possible that Russia will start using nuclear weapons. It all depends on patience, when patience of Russian leadership will run out. Let me translate, by the way, several sentences from his statements to be more precise, because yet again, even though Western ruling class is unable to listen to warnings, at least societies in the West should listen or should learn position of their Russia. They should be informed, by the way. They should be informed, and they are not, unfortunately. I'm talking about majority of the public in the West. Because if they knew how dangerously close we as humanity are towards nuclear disaster, probably they would protest. They will conduct some demonstrations all around the collective West and demand from their so-called elites to de-escalate. But we did not see no demonstrations and no demands, right? So I guess Western public, majority of the Western public, is misinformed, disinformed, and has no idea what is really happening and towards what disaster their so-called elites are pushing this world, including Western public itself. So Russia does not use nuclear weapons in response to enemy attacks because it understands the danger and irreversibility of such a conflict. For now, Moscow is showing patience, but it may run out. Deputy chairman of the Russia Security Council, Dmitry Medvedev, warned on his Telegram channel. What do Western leaders and their political establishment, which has gotten carried away with the war, think about our country's reaction to probable missile strikes deep into territory? Here is what the Russians talk a lot about responding with the weapons of mass destruction, but do nothing. These are just verbal interventions. The Russians will not cross the line. They are just scaring. They don't need a nuclear conflict. They can lose more, including the support of the global South. And anyway, who needs their apocalypse and so on in their same spirit? He described their situation, Medvedev. Although he emphasized that no one really needs a nuclear conflict, it is a very bad story with a very difficult outcome. That is why their decision to use nuclear weapons, non-strategic or even more so strategic, has not been made so far, he noted. Russia is being patient. After all, it is obvious that the nuclear response is an extremely difficult decision with irreversible consequences. However, their pompous Anglo-Saxon rants do not want to admit one thing: any patience comes to an end. So yes, Dmitry Medvedev basically indirectly saying that nuclear weapons can be used when patience of the Russian leadership, patience of Russia will run out. And his statements are also should be seen as a warnings, by the way. Also should be seen as a warnings, maybe last warning that Moscow will issue before some extreme force will be deployed. I don't know, but unfortunately, it seems like because of this attitude of the Western ruling class that Moscow will not use nukes, Moscow will not do this and not do that, because of this attitude that Moscow is only issuing warnings and not acting on these warnings, they might not de-escalate. Western ruling class may continue on the current path of constant escalation, and as I already reported, Sergei Ryabkov, deputy of the Russian foreign minister, said openly that Moscow has information. Moscow is informed that decision on strikes deep inside Russian territory already been made. And it's only a matter, I guess, now when these strikes start. And seems like until Moscow will really start deploying this extreme force, non-strategical or strategical nuclear weapons, Western ruling class will not even bother to listen to any warnings from anybody, including Moscow. That's how bad situation is. Arrogance of the Western ruling class is, arrogance, stupidity is uncharted, really. It's just, it is what it is, man. And we have also this headline, by the way, US can't hide from nuclear war. So Washington will be unable to hide from nuclear conflict if it starts across the ocean. Russian ambassador to the US, Anatoly Antonov, has stated fears of the potential escalation between Russia and NATO over the Ukraine conflict have been intensifying in recent days as Western powers repeatedly mull the possibility of allowing Kiev to conduct missile strikes deep inside the Russian territory. Once again, this is not about allowing Kiev to conduct strikes deep inside Russian territory. This is about NATO's decision to strike deep inside the Russian territory directly. Speaking with the Russia 24 channel on Friday, Ambassador Antonov said that he is surprised at the illusion that if there is a conflict, it will not spread to the territory of the United States of America. It seems like Western, and in this particular case, US elites, are in that illusion that they can escalate constantly on the European continent and they will manage to hide out. How crazy are they? Do they know about anything about intercontinental ballistic missiles? No? And then quote, by the way, I am constantly trying to convey to them one thesis that the Americans will not be able to sit it out behind the waters of this ocean. This war will affect everyone, so we constantly say, do not play with this rhetoric, Antonov said. He also mentioned that while Western countries accuse Russia of cyber rattling, the US wants to investigate the consequences of the nuclear strikes would have for Eastern Europe. Antonov was apparently referring to a study ordered by the US Defense Department to simulate the impact of the nuclear conflict on global agriculture. I reported about it in previous updates, isn't it? I believe I did about this study that was ordered by Pentagon, and some 30-something million US dollars were allocated to conduct that study. So according to So Antonov was apparently referring to a study ordered by the US Defense Department to simulate the impact of nuclear conflict on global agriculture. According to solicitation notice posted on a government or a procurement platform, the study will focus on regions beyond Eastern Europe and Western Russia, which in the simulation is the epicenter of their hypothetical nuclear war. So seems like Western ruling class and US ruling elites, they are seriously considering escalating on the level of nuclear exchange in Europe, and they are ordering now studies to be conducted what kind of impact this nuclear exchange in Europe will have on agriculture, not just on European continent, but also worldwide. Well, Anatoly Antonov is correct, isn't it? These people in U.S. leadership, U.S. deep state or intelligence are so delusional if they think that they can hide from a nuclear war and they will manage to stay out of being targeted by Russian nuclear weapons. If nuclear exchange will happen, let's hope it will not. But if nuclear exchange is going to happen, then obviously NATO will target Russia with its nukes, and Russia will target NATO member states with the nukes also. And not just NATO member states that will target Russia with long-range weapon systems or nukes, but maybe Russia will take out all NATO member states, possibly with the exception of few that are not really were demonstrating any hostility towards Russia, or at least on extreme levels. So, I mean, it is obvious that there is no way the US will hide out from nuclear war, man. How delusional leadership in US really is, if they think they can provoke nuclear war in Europe and they will just watch how events will how situation will evolve. So yet again, strong warning, by the way, strong warning. As I said in the beginning, headlines are pretty scary, quite scary. But unfortunately, due to this attitude of the Western ruling class, Western elites, that Moscow talks the talk, but not really acts on warnings, because of this attitude that or belief that Russia will not escalate, seems like they're not gonna stop. They're not gonna listen to these warnings, and eventually Moscow most likely will have no option but to start deploying extreme force. I don't know, man. I don't know what is going to happen. Let's hope situation will de-escalate somehow. But at this point, we don't really have indicators that that's what is going to happen. All we know, all indicators right now are showing towards further escalation, which is really unfortunate, but it is what it is. How long is this update? And I'm not quite sure, by the way, as I already said, I'm not quite sure that Western public is informed about all this stuff. I don't think Western public understands how dangerously close humanity as a whole are right now towards nuclear exchange and nuclear disaster. Otherwise, I cannot. Otherwise, I would think that if Western public was informed enough, if they realize that everything they know will be destroyed in matter of hours, if escalation happens, probably they will do something about it. They will try to influence their own politicians that are constantly escalating with Russia. But they are doing nothing, right? They don't care, seems like. And of course, I'm talking about majority, not informed minority, by the way. We all understand that there is informed minority in the West, in the collective West countries, but unfortunately, this informed minority is unable to influence their fellow citizens. And, well, we are where we are. TASS News Agency is reporting that well, let's translate this information also about latest escalation, diplomatic escalation between Russia and the United Kingdom. I reported yesterday in the second update that 6 British diplomats were expelled from Russia due to their hostile activity towards Russia. And the questions rise about complete cut of diplomatic ties between Moscow and London. And deputy of the permanent representative of Russia in UN commented on that. Let's go through his statement. So complete surveillance of the diplomatic relations with the Great Britain is an extreme measure. All pros and cons need to be weighed. This was stated by the first deputy permanent representative of the Russian Federation to the UN, Dmitry Polyansky, commenting on FSB information about the intelligence activities of the British Embassy employees. As I said, 6 employees of British Embassy was expelled from Russia. I guess London will also expel a number of Russian diplomats from UK, and obviously level of diplomatic relationships are on lowest level, probably since I don't know, since ever. I don't think relationships were this bad even during the height of the Cold War. But yet again, this statement of Polyansky clearly indicates that Moscow is in no hurry to cut completely diplomatic ties with UK, because some lines of communication definitely are needed, especially in these dangerous times that world is in right now. So therefore, probably maybe a Russian ambassador will be recalled from UK, but some diplomats will stay just to maintain some lines of communication, I guess. Let's see how things develop. RIA Novosti is reporting that, well, because of this topic of long-range strikes deep inside the Russian territory by NATO, of course, Germany's leadership was asked once again about Taurus long-range cruise missiles, if Germany made up its mind on deliveries of these missiles to formerly Kiev regime. In reality, of course, these long-range weapon systems are operated by NATO military personnel, and the answer is no. Answer is no. You know what? Let me translate this also. And well, the US and UK discussions on the possibility of strikes deep into Russia do not concern German weapons, and Chancellor Olaf Scholz's decision not to deliver Taurus missiles to Kiev remains unchanged. This was said by German government spokesman Stefan Haber-Streit. Earlier, it became known that British Prime Minister Keir Starmer will hold bilateral talks with US President. These talks already had happened in Washington on Friday. Western media reported that the leaders are expected to decide on the possibility of the lifting the current ban on strikes by the Ukrainian armed forces with the Western long-range weapons deep into Russia. Yet again, this is not about, as Russian President and a number of other high-ranking officials said, this is not about lifting restrictions on Kiev regime to strike deep inside Russian territory. These talks are about NATO's direct strikes on Russian territory, because Kiev regime is no position to operate with these missiles, with these long-range weapon systems. So this should be clear for everybody, that NATO now wants to get directly involved in this conflict and carried out direct strikes on Russian Federation. That's what is happening. And that's why Moscow is very clear on the topic that Russia will see strikes deep inside Russian territory with the Western weapons as a act of war from NATO member states, from US and its allies, and countermeasures will be taken. What that countermeasures are, how will Russia will respond, I don't know. I guess only few people know about it in Russian leadership, but it is obvious that Moscow cannot ignore such development. So we will see. And when it comes to German Taurus long-range missiles, we all understand that Scholz represents occupying regime of the US and UK, and not really represents German people. So therefore, Scholz will do whatever he's basically ordered by his masters in Washington and London. So if US and UK leadership strongly demands these Taurus long-range cruise missiles to be also used for strikes on Russia, then unfortunately that's what is going to happen. And I will end this relatively short update, by the way, on this news that Stoltenberg will become head of Munich Security Conference. Okay. There was a times when Munich Security Conference was seen worldwide as something important, really, but right now, any Western institution, really, by the way, is a laughing stock, more or less, and Munich Security Conference is no exception, really. Yes, Stoltenberg, who will step down as a NATO Secretary General in October, will become the new chairman of the Munich Security Conference. Politico reported about it, US media outlet or propaganda outlet. According to the publication, Stoltenberg will take office after the conference is held in February 2025. Stoltenberg has headed NATO since 2014. On October 1st, he will be replaced in the post by former Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte. So, yes, if you were thinking that Stoltenberg is going away from headlines, well, unfortunately not. Probably this clown will still make some headlines in months to come, and well, I guess this is it. I still have a number of news, by the way, but of course main topic of discussion today in Russian media, and I guess in media worldwide, maybe with the exception of Collective West, is this new level of escalation between NATO and Russia. And I shared main news on this matter that was reported, main updates basically on this matter that was reported by Russian media. Let's hope somehow somebody will influence Western ruling class and bring them to their senses, so that there will be no strikes deep inside the Russian territory by NATO, and Moscow will not find itself in a corner when Russian leadership will see no other option but to deploy some extreme force. Let's hope for that, but same time, we can have informed guesses, obviously, and right now, unfortunately, we don't really have strong indicators that the escalation will happen. Unfortunately, things are heading towards further escalation, which is bad, man, really bad, but what you gonna do about it, man? And again, we as a humanity had the chance to influence Western ruling class if Western public was well informed about dangers that Western ruling elites are posing to humanity. But Western societies majority are under heavy influence of propaganda, by the way, and it seems like they have no understanding how dangerously close we are to nuclear disaster due to actions of the Western ruling class, unfortunately, man. So yes, this is it for now. I hope you will find this update informative and interesting. And if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything, any topic. This is the only way we can at least try and influence algorithm, especially on YouTube, which is suppressing my videos big time. At least my channel is not yet deleted, so I mean, but anyways, we need to reach wider audience, by the way, because it is necessary, I believe, voices from Russia to be heard in this world, in the collective West also, and news from Russia to be heard, because if people only listening to this BBC and ABC and CNN and that kind of crap, or just receiving information from such propaganda outlets like New York Times or Washington Post or Guardian and that kind of crap, man, that had some respect some decades ago, but right now, no. Then, of course, people if they're only receiving information from those media outlets, will have no understanding of what is going on in the world and will have no say, therefore, in their own destiny. Okay, and if you can, dear friends, please share information about my channel in real life with your friends on internet, on any of the platforms that you are actively using. I know, dear friends, that there are certain platforms, Facebook and one another, some other platform also, that blocks links from my channel, from my videos. But I mean, you can write that. I mean, there is a channel like Levan Gudadze Opinion that reports about news from Russia and comments on that. And yes, if you can, dear friends, please subscribe to my Telegram, to my Twitter account, and to my Rumble channel, because there is a risk that due to this new wave of anti-Russian hysteria in the West, my channel can be deleted on YouTube. There is always such a risk. And by subscribing to other channels of mine, we will have reserve lines of communication. And finally, if you like my work, if you like my channels, if you think it is necessary a channel from Russia to exist in this field of news and political commentary, or me and my channels to exist in this field of news and political commentary, please consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal or Boosty platforms, or by subscribing to my page on Patreon and Boosty also. All the links are on this video in description box and in the pinned comment. And I will just tell you that I will just notice that monthly subscription on Patreon starts from $5, and then you can choose your level of support. And also, by the way, due to this new feature on Patreon, you can kind of donate from Patreon, because you can now pay for each videos. If you are not subscriber, not paid subscriber, not Patreon, then if you are free subscriber, you can donate and have access to I mean, you can gain access to each video from now on. And unfortunately, Patreon don't allow me to make $1 for a video. Minimal amount was $3, so that's what it is for now. So if you want to, you can use that feature of Patreon also as a tool of donating. Anyways, by the way, thank you all for your attention. Once again, I hope you will have a great day and a wonderful weekend. Take care, and see you tomorrow. Bye for now.